At the front of the chimney, we're going to use Z-trim, which I have here in my hand. And I've marked it for the center rib. I'm going to do a cutout, and I've left it long so that I can turn it sideways, take off the upper leg, and run it behind the upper flashing here. Same thing on this side. So that when we bring our side plates down, they can come, wrap around, and box this. So I'm going to go ahead and make these cuts, install it, and then we can measure for the final plate to go at the end wall. What I've done is cut the Z-trim so that I can turn the corner. I've let it flow behind the panel that turns up the sidewall. I've done that on both corners, and I'm going to install it using fasteners that are going to be hidden along here. I am not going to use any butyl tape underneath the Z-trim because I don't want to block water that could potentially get behind this Z-trim. If water were to get behind it and there was butyl tape or sealant underneath the Z, that water would eventually push back and flow into the roof. We've been spending a lot of time on the section with the chimney for the simple reason that chimneys are complicated. And if you talk to 10 different contractors, you're going to get 10 different approaches to flashing the chimney. What we're showing you here today is one of several ways of doing a chimney flashing. One aspect of a standing seam roof that is universal to any approach to flashing a chimney is installing your lower panels, flashing the back of the chimney, either using a pan or a saddle, and then installing your upper panels so that they overlap. You always want to make sure that you have your panels overlapping in the right sequence and the right distance so that water is shedding correctly. And if anything does back up behind the chimney, ice or snow, that the overlap that you have with the panels is going to protect the inside of the roof. So now I'm going to go ahead, we're going to start with the installation of our front pan here, and then we'll move to the sides and to the rear. You can see here at the front of the chimney that I've used a Z-trim, and I've installed that so that I can clip the end wall flashing onto it and insert the flashing into the kerf that we've cut into the stone. The end wall flashing, as you can see here in my hand, has a lower leg, it walks up the wall, and it has a tongue that goes into the kerf. And the hem here, the 1-inch hem, all that does is it slides onto the Z-trim. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure that these tabs slide behind the sidewall, the panel that has been turned up the chimney. So what you can see here is I've clipped into the Z-trim. I am behind the panel that has walked up the wall on both sides, and I'm inside the kerf. Now, I'm not going to install this fully here because we're using this for demonstration purposes, but ordinarily, you would have a turn back on this so that when it goes inside, it locks. After installing the end wall flashing at the front of the chimney and making sure that it slides behind the panel that has turned up the sidewall, I'm going to install the over flashing that I've made. Again, I'm not going to fasten this, but you can see how everything tight, it flows, it turns the corner. You would always use sealants. Everywhere that you have a corner, you're going to use sealants. And those sealants, when not exposed to UV, they have a very, very long lifespan. So every time you've got corners, each successive layer of steel, you're going to be wanting to use a sealant. So we're going to put this plate on, make sure that it's tight, and then we can go and we can install the back plate. Now that I've installed the front and side over flashings, I'm going to install the two rear flashings, which have already been made up. So they're going to slide in nice and easy. You can see here that the flashing goes inside the kerf that we've cut. Again, you're always using sealant at your corners between each layer of steel. So I've installed this one. I'm going to go to the other side now and install the other one. Now that I've installed the overflashing on this side, I'm going to install this one. You can see how they overlap. Again, you're using sealant inside the kerf. There you have the installation of a metal roof around a chimney. The flashing of the saddle or the cricket using valleys, and the upper panels that lock into those valleys using offset cleats, and the installation of the overflashing at the front, side, and rear of the chimney. Thanks very much for watching, and if you have any questions, please reach out to your All-American Steel rep or shoot us a note through social media.